What's going on? In this video, I'm going to be looking at Amnesia: The Bunker. The Bunker is the fourth game in the Amnesia series, and I'm not like the biggest Amnesia fan. I've played through The Dark Descent and Rebirth, and they were pretty good games. But The Bunker, in my opinion, is the best Amnesia game to come out yet. I mean, it's scary as fuck. And the developers, Frictional Games, they are just masters at having the player scare themselves and of psychological horror in general. They're also the developers of Soma, which was a really good mindfuck game. And the original Amnesia game was one of the games that really jump-started Let's Plays and really streamers playing through a video game with people watching. And did things that no other horror games really had done, like letting the player physically open the door to a closet or a wardrobe or a cupboard or box or whatever, and letting them hide inside that item while the monster's looking for them. Because before that, I'm sure everyone had the feeling in horror games like, oh, this monster's chasing me. If this was real life, I would just hide in this closet. Huh? But then in Amnesia, that became a reality where the monster's chasing you. You better hide in that fucking closet or you're dead. And it really was a new kind of horror. And it was a lot of fun, too, as a viewer, to watch your favorite streamer freak out when the monster's coming after them as they scramble to hide under a desk or in a closet or whatever. And it really was one of the first kind of walking simulator horror games. I mean, it basically spawned a whole genre of games like that. Amnesia 2 Rebirth came out, I think, 3 years ago, and I played that on launch night. I actually happened to be off work the next day, and I opened Steam, and it was like, just released, Amnesia 2 Rebirth, and I was like, well, fuck it, why not? I'll play it. And I got it, and it was pretty scary. It wasn't my favorite game. It was the same kind of formula as Soma and Amnesia: The Dark Descent, but I didn't think it was as scary, really, as the original game. But one thing I thought was really cool about Amnesia Rebirth is that early on, kind of towards the middle of the game, the main character is a girl, and she looks down, or something triggers her memory, and she looks down and remembers, oh, fuck, I'm pregnant. And it was like this moment of, it really changed the way you play the game, right? Like, I wouldn't expect that to really have an effect on me, as I'm a guy, obviously, and I don't know, I don't really play games like that to where, like, oh, I'm playing a pregnant character, like, okay, who cares, whatever. But when that moment hits you, it really did affect the way I played the game. Like, I wouldn't jump down the cliffside or make crazy movements because it's like, fuck, I don't want to hurt the baby. And I became aware that I was moving my character differently, and I just thought it was really cool because the idea of having amnesia is not something that's really explored in a lot of games, even though a lot of games will start out with the character like, oh, you don't remember what happened, you have amnesia, you better figure out what happened. And in that moment in Amnesia 2 Rebirth, it was like, if you actually had amnesia in real life, you could forget something so important, such as being pregnant. Like, fuck. Having amnesia would actually suck really, really bad. And that was a little bit off topic, but anyway, so now we arrive at Amnesia: The Bunker. And I bought this game thinking it's going to be another game like Amnesia Rebirth and Soma, following the same kind of formula where scary monster appears, run and hide, follow the story, solve some puzzles. Well, surprisingly, Amnesia: The Bunker is not a linear walking simulator like the other games before it, but the developer still uses their psychological trickery that they've learned from the other Amnesia games to really let the players scare the living shit out of themselves. The Bunker is a semi-open world type game where you have freedom to go wherever you want inside the bunker, where some areas are soft locked behind keys or other items. So very different than earlier Amnesia games where you pretty much have a linear path that you follow while you solve puzzles and then try to hide from a monster. When you start up the game, you're greeted with this small quote. then you're put into the tutorial, which is the developers teaching you the basic set of skills you will need to survive. And it's pretty standard. You go through it, whatever. There's some important story stuff here. Your friend loses a bet, so he's the one who has to go out and patrol for the night. And when he doesn't return, you go to look for him. You find him. I guess you're hit by some sort of explosion, which causes your amnesia.
I'll get you back to safety. Just hold on to me.
And when the tutorial ends, this quote plays before the game really starts. I really like this quote, just telling players, hey, you're on your own, good luck. It's like, fuck, okay, here we go. And you're really told nothing else, so you wake up and it's like, okay, what the fuck am I doing? What's going on? Something isn't right. In previous Amnesia games, making noise attracts the monster, so you usually want to be quiet. And in this game, early on, right after you wake up in the bunker, you find a flashlight. Like, okay, great. But to turn on this flashlight, you have to pull a cord and crank it up so that it spins some mechanism inside it, and it is loud as fuck. And this is your primary light source, a loud-ass flashlight. So right away, it's just like, god damn it. And I think this loud mechanical flashlight that you have to manually charge was a really good idea. It punishes the player for using a flashlight. When normally in horror games, the player's given a light source as like a reward, instead of something that will actively punish you. Maybe monsters in other horror games will react to the light, but the light source itself isn't making noise, but in this it does. And when you pull that cord, it's loud to where you pretty much can't hear much around you while you're pulling that cord for that few seconds, which just leads to even more tension. So you get your flashlight and you walk into this room and you notice these huge holes in the walls, and they look pretty fucking creepy. It's like, oh great, I wonder what's going to come out of these. Like, this does not look normal. Follow this blood trail to this guy who gives you some story information. The officers have sealed everyone inside after fleeing the bunker. You don't know why because you have fucking amnesia. And then after a creepy noise plays, the guy says, take my gun and kill me. Hurry. It's like, okay.
You want to escape. You need to blow it back open. There's dynamite in the arsenal. And a handle to trigger it somewhere in the excavation site. Get them, and you can make it out. Shit. That thing, it's coming for me. Here, take this. Finish me off, please. I want to die at the hands of a brother soldier, not that monster. There's ammo in the pantry. Get it. Do the job, please.
So not only was the monster some fucked up creature that was able to pull a fully grown adult human through a little hole in the wall, now every time you're walking around and you see these holes in the walls, you're going to be scared because the monster could potentially come out of one of these holes, which it does. So it just leads to more tension, more of the players scaring themselves. You walk by one of those holes while you're charging your flashlights, like, oh shit, please don't come out of this hole, please don't come out of this hole. And just to let the player know if they haven't figured it out already, the only way to get through this locked door is to either shoot it or throw a heavy brick at it to break the lock, which both options are extremely loud, and doing so will aggro the monster to you. So they really let the player know, hey, if you make loud noise, you're gonna die, the monster's coming for you. And then the player goes to the save room, which is where they save the game. There's a storage box. There's a map that the player can look at to plot out where they want to go. There's also this generator. The generator is important because the player puts gas into it and it powers the whole bunker with light and electricity and whatever. And you learn from notes and stuff that the monster, and clearly you're told through environmental details and notes that the monster does not like the light. So keeping this thing powered is usually a good choice. But in order to power it, you gotta have gas, which you find throughout the bunker. But you can use gas for not only the generator, but for combining with items like to make a Molotov cocktail and such. And the generator burns through gas pretty quickly, so you have to decide, do I want to spend my fuel on making an item, or do I want light? And here's what the bunker looks like when powered on and when it's not powered on. And the monster will still come after you, even if the generator is powered on and there is light. It's just a little bit harder to aggro it when there is light. After leaving the save room, the player finds the main objective of the game, which is to blow open the blockage that is blocking the exit of the bunker so that you can walk out and escape this hellhole. But it's not going to be that easy. Ever since all hell broke loose, while the player was in their amnesia-induced slumber, the other occupants of the bunker had been setting up traps and explosives in order to kill this monster that has been stalking them. So all throughout the bunker, you have to be careful because there are fucking deadly traps everywhere that will kill you. Or, if the trap doesn't kill you, the noise from setting it off will get the monster's attention and it will kill you. So anyways, you have the main save room, and what you do is you look at the map, you plot out your next course of action, and you go out into the bunker, out into the unknown. And what this game does is it lets you get comfortable and familiar with your immediate surroundings, which are pretty scary in and of themselves. And then the game leads you off into a new unknown area. When you're in deep in one of these new areas, you know if you make one wrong move, make one loud sound, then that monster is coming for you. And what are you going to do? Where are you going to hide? And it just creates a super tense feeling where the player is just always on edge, always freaking yourself out. And since there's only one save room, and you know that now you're far from it, it just adds to the fear where you don't want to fail. You really do not want to get caught. you've already done so much, but you're so far away from where you need to go to save, it just creates a really, really good atmosphere full of dread and terror. In previous Amnesia games, you couldn't really fight back versus the monsters. Your only option really was to run and hide. In this game, however, you can bring the fight to the monster. And it works really well in this game. You know, you shoot the monster, throw a grenade at it, and if it gets damaged enough, it will run away and hide from you for a little bit. But you got to be careful because sometimes you need bullets to shoot open locks, or you might need a grenade to blow open a door. So if you're using it against the monster, then eventually what's going to happen is instead of using a grenade to blow open a door or a bullet to shoot a lock, you're going to have to look in the dark for like a big brick or something that you're going to have to use to break down the door, and that's going to be really loud and it's going to be harder than just shooting it if you had saved your bullets. So it works really well in this game that you can fight versus the monster. The other thing is that the resources will run out. There is not just an endless stream of resources or something spawning bullets or grenades. You can run out of resources. So if you're wasting precious resources on fighting the monster for no reason when you should be trying to get the fuck out of the bunker, you could really get into some problems later on where it's going to become a lot harder than it should be. So it really rewards players for playing well and punishes players for being dumb, which is really cool in my opinion. But usually you'll be so fucking scared, you don't even want to fuck with the monster, and like previous Amnesia games, you'll run and you'll hide. And just like the other Amnesia games, the running and hiding is a lot of fun. It's very tense. If you're dumb and you hide in a really obvious spot, the monster will find you no problem and it will kill you. And the monster will chase your ass around this entire bunker if you let it. In this clip here, I thought for sure the monster wouldn't be able to follow me this far because it's like a loading area, because you load into the next section. And so I thought I was safe to just go ahead and heal myself, and as you can tell by my panic, I was very wrong. Another enemy you'll be facing is these fucking rats. And these things, God, they are really cool because if you take damage in this game, you start bleeding. And these rats, these mutated fucking rats, will follow your blood trail and start attacking you. And if you're only wounded a little bit, they'll follow your blood trail and just start hissing at you and making noise, and like it calls more rats over, and they'll just gang up on you and start attacking you and being loud as fuck, and eventually they aggro the monster because they're so loud. And if you do not heal, these rats will follow you around the entire level, the entire bunker, just hissing and biting you and making your life a living hell. I thought these rats were a really cool addition to the game, like really fun to try to avoid, and seeing them like group up on you, following your blood trail while hissing and biting you, it really was pretty cool. And it is scary when it's happening, especially when you see just a bunch of them coming out of the holes, like coming right at you as you're like, fuck, I gotta heal, and then they're hissing and you hear the monster. Oh man, it's really cool. But there's a lot of different ways to deal with the enemies, and there's a lot of different ways to solve certain puzzles or to get through locked doors, which really add to the fun of the game. Like, you can do all sorts of shit. If you need to get through a door, you can throw a big brick at it multiple times to break it down. You can blast it open with a grenade. You can shoot the lock off. You can stack explosive barrels next to it and throw a Molotov cocktail on it. You can pour gas on the ground and set it on fire to scare away the rats or to bait the monster into running into it. My personal favorite thing to do is to throw a bunch of gas grenades in the area I'm supposed to go, put on my gas mask, and then if the monster gets aggroed, he won't even fuck with me because I'm just standing in a cloud of poisonous gas. Same thing, it scares the rats away as well, so it's a great strategy. But better make sure you do what you're doing quick because the gas will dissipate eventually. There's also a neat moment in the game where when you go to the scary prison, there is a prisoner, a German who is still left in one of the cells.
Bitte, schließ es wieder!
And inside his cell is some bolt cutters that you need to progress. So you know when you power up the prison and open the cell door, it's most likely going to be very loud. And which it is, which you can attempt to save the prisoner if you want to, but the easy thing to do is to just let him get eaten by the monster so you can get the bolt cutters and get the fuck out of there. And it is a nice little moral dilemma that you're put in. I think most players probably just let the monster kill him because it would be quite a hassle to save him. The atmosphere of the game, tied in with the audio design, is really cool. Since you're in the middle of a war, you'll hear and feel artillery shells and bombs and explosives going off randomly that just shake the whole bunker, and like dirt and debris are falling down on you, and then you hear the monster in the background, and it's like, fuck, Was that a monster? Was that the fucking bombs going off? What the fuck was that? And when an explosion goes off and it shakes the whole bunker, like the lights will flicker, go out for a second, and come back on. And when you're already trying to hide from a monster, or you're in a tense moment and an artillery shell goes off, it just adds to the overall horror, and it works really well. It's really good. Very immersive, makes you feel like you're actually trapped in a bunker in the middle of a war. There's a really cool moment where you go up into this pillbox to get an item, and you're getting shot at by enemies, and it's like, oh fuck, I forgot, I'm still in the middle of a war, like holy shit. As you progress further into the game, it starts to tie in story elements from the earlier Amnesia games into this game. And it works really well because you almost kind of forget that this is an Amnesia game. And there are some nice twists and creepy turns towards the end that I won't spoil in this video. Overall, Amnesia the Bunker was a surprisingly fresh take on the Amnesia games. It was really fun, very immersive, and very fucking scary. If you're looking for a good indie horror game this Halloween season, I highly recommend you check out Amnesia the Bunker.